Some people get a lot out of uni, but there's still a lot that you have to do for yourself. Let's have a look. Good morning everyone and welcome back to the channel. As you heard from the intro, I'm going to talk about some things you don't learn from uni. So I've mentioned this in a video before, but I've been a React developer for about 8 months now. It's only contract work, so after that's done, I'm just going to go back to focusing on uni until that hopefully picks up again. What I've learned from that is there's a lot of skills that you just don't learn at uni, and I know this might seem obvious to people who know it, but it didn't really seem obvious to me at the time. So obviously, I guess we can talk about what uni does give you at the start. You'll learn technical skills. They might be a bit outdated, but hopefully your courses teach you in a more general sense so you can actually learn techniques rather than specific frameworks, which I feel like some of my courses have done. Like I had a database fundamentals course which taught me more about how to structure SQL tables and how to structure data, as opposed to this is how you use SQL Server. We focused on SQL Server, but it was more of looking at how we use SQL as opposed to just specifically for that technology. But then there's other courses where I had a web development course, for example, which we did jQuery and ASP.NET, and that was a jQuery and ASP.NET mainly. We didn't really look at the fundamentals of web development, which I feel would have been far more helpful. So besides technical skills, you'll also obviously make personal skills and meet people you'll become friends with for life, and hopefully that helps you end up getting a job, but I don't know how likely that is. I'm still in uni myself right now, so I'm not sure what those connections are going to be like in the future. I've heard from some people who've finished and talk about it on their channels that it's not as great as some people make it out to be, but that might just be their experience. I'm not one to talk about whether that is accurate or not. So you'll learn the technical skills, you'll learn basic talking skills, and I think that might be pretty much everything that you really pick up in two general categories. I guess you also learn tools, but that can go under technical skills. And once again, those tools you learn are likely to be a few years outdated just because you've got the bureaucratic layers to bring in new ideas into a university. The things you don't learn are things like how to communicate with an employer, basically. That's one of the key things. So as I mentioned in my first time in a boardroom meeting, I had no idea what I was doing, and somehow that video got really popular. I know I posted on my LinkedIn, but I didn't expect it to get that popular. I was talking to the CEO during that meeting, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was just trying to kind of emulate what I've seen in office movies about what sensible office culture is, because I really wasn't sure what I was doing, and I think that went well, but that's something that you just don't learn from university. You have to kind of go out of your way to learn that yourself, whether that be through emulating what you see in movies, which I know for some things isn't the best idea, but I guess for others it might actually be a good idea. I don't know. And also, I guess in that situation, emulating what the people around you are doing, picking up on what their subtle movements are and what you can apply to yourself, basically. So those soft professional skills are what you don't learn at university. So talking is one of them, but there's also just negotiation. You don't learn how to negotiate a contract in university unless you're doing a business course. I don't know the exact details of that, whether you learn how to negotiate your own contract or whether you learn to negotiate a project contract and whether those skills are transferable. I assume that to some extent they probably are, but there would be some details that aren't exactly transferable. Another thing you don't really learn at university is what developer life is going to be like. Obviously, you can see online, there's some channels which really, what's the kind way to put it? They brighten up, I guess. They brighten up what a developer life is and over-exaggerate the good parts and don't really focus on the bad parts. And then there's other channels which taken a very serious approach about what it actually is going to be like. Take someone like Joshua Fluke, who I've mentioned before, and I really love his channel. He will look at those super bright videos and talk about what isn't actually realistic in those videos and what you could actually expect. And I think going out of your way and watching things like that will definitely help you, because with my React job, I wasn't sure what I was getting into when I started it. It's the least professional work that I've ever done, I guess might be the way to put it. That's not in a condescending way. Right now, the way I look at it is it's more like freelance work than anything else. I'll go in for a meeting, yeah, that's pretty much it, and then I'll work from home. But it's not remote, like when you're working remote with a company that has internal employees. It's remote if everyone is remote, if that makes any sense. And we also, because it's just me and my boss working on the development side of this project, we didn't really set up Slack, which is a bad idea. And that's another thing you don't learn. Learning about those professional tools that'll really help you. I didn't even think about using Slack initially, but emailing back and forth is kind of a pain. And that's what we've been doing for the past 8 months. So I usually won't check my emails over the weekend, and he might send me an email and I won't respond for another day, and then he'll take another day to respond. Whereas if we were using Slack, then that would save us a lot of time, and I'd be able to get his feedback on things that I've done much, much quicker. Because one thing that I've had to do recently was implement some authentication. I just had to get him to pretty much sign off on that. And yeah, because we're doing a prototype, and that prototype is going to be sent off to be used with the potential customers of the completed project. And the company that I'm doing the project for wants some feedback from them. So to sum up that section, basically you don't learn what work as a developer is going to be like. And I think that's something, I don't know if you could really teach that at university either. And that's where places like YouTube come into. Obviously, I'm not just shilling my channel here, I'm shilling other developer channels, the guys who keep it real, not the bright and fluffy, I'm going to play with dogs all day. I'm not specifically mentioning any channel because there's too many to think of. These developer channels out there that keep it real and actually talk about what developer life is going to be like, I think they help a lot of young devs like me fight the imposter syndrome that we kind of get. Because when you go into a situation like that, you're not really sure what to expect, and you don't really think, I don't know, you look at some of the projects that are out there and some of the products that are out there, and you don't really know how something like that was built, and you don't realize it was a massive team effort and it came together from a lot of small components, and you're not really sure how you play a part in building that, I guess. And that's another thing that uni doesn't help with. Because mainly, at least for me, we mainly focus on little projects that you can be done in like teams of 1 to 2, maybe 4 people, and maybe about 5-6 weeks at most. In third year for the general like ICT stuff, not the software engineering, there's a semester project where you work with a company. I think that's going to help a lot of those people. I'm in honors, so my stuff doesn't happen till next year, and I think it's just an honors paper, which is, I don't care. I'll get it done. But hopefully by that point, I will have also gotten another project, so I'll have another 8 months of dev experience. But that's not too relevant to the video. So pretty much to sum everything up, because I could probably keep talking about this all day, because there's just so much that uni doesn't give you. Even with the technical skills, you'll learn a few things that might be a bit outdated, but I didn't learn React, I didn't learn Angular, I didn't learn TypeScript, I didn't learn anything like that. But I've had to teach myself that outside of uni, React for my job and Angular for portfolio stuff, because uni just doesn't teach you a lot of the stuff that is currently being used. You might learn some outdated stuff, and you might learn some stuff that's still being used, like ASP.NET and Java, but you won't learn the most up-to-date technologies that are currently being used in the field. I didn't even learn PHP in my course. I've had to teach that to myself, and PHP is still a massive, massive back-end language. Yeah, I think we're going to cut the rant there, because otherwise I reckon I could probably keep going all day talking about this, because there's just so much to cover. And yeah, if you like this video, then give it a like. If you want to subscribe, then subscribe. I guess that's a bit of a different outro than normal. I don't know what happened there. I don't know. Do I like it? I don't know how I feel about that. We'll see. Let me know in the comments below what you feel about that, if you feel like commenting. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. So, I'm out.